There are things in life we can share generously, our time, our kindness, our knowledge. But there are also things that should remain non-negotiable, things that no one should be allowed to take from us. These are not material possessions. They are the essence of who we are. The truth is, when we allow someone to take these away, we lose our foundation, our identity, and our strength to move forward. The first is your self-respect. Once you compromise your respect for temporary approval, you become dependent on others to define your worth. Respect is not granted by people, it is preserved by you. When someone tries to belittle you, you have two choices: accept their definition of you or rise above it. Choose the second always. The second is your voice. Every idea, every perspective, and every truth you hold matters. Some people may try to silence you, to convince you that your opinions don't count, but your voice is your instrument of influence. Whether it's used in small conversations or to inspire larger change, never let anyone diminish it. The moment you give away your voice, you give away your power. The third is your values. These are the principles that guide your decisions. Compromising them to fit in or to please others may seem harmless in the short term, but it erodes your integrity in the long term. Values are the compass that keeps you moving in the right direction even when the world tries to sway you. The fourth is your hope. Life will test you. Challenges, failures, and disappointments will push against your spirit. There will be people who tell you it's useless to keep trying, that dreams are unrealistic. But hope is the seed of resilience. If you let someone take it away, you lose the fuel that drives growth. The fifth is your kindness. It's easy to let bitterness harden us when people take advantage of us. But when you let the world rob you of kindness, you stop being the person you truly are. Kindness isn't weakness, it's strength in its purest form. Protect it, even if others don't deserve it, because it defines your humanity. The sixth is your time. Time is the only resource that, once spent, never returns. People will demand it, distract you, or even waste it, but you must guard it with intention. Every moment you invest should align with what matters most to you. Letting others take your time carelessly is letting them steal pieces of your life. And finally, your dreams. Dreams are deeply personal. They're the vision of the life you want to live, the impact you want to make. People may laugh at them, dismiss them, or try to convince you they're impossible, but they belong to you and only you. To give them up because someone else doesn't see their value is to abandon the very future you're meant to create. These 7 things, your self-respect, your voice, your values, your hope, your kindness, your time, and your dreams are not negotiable. They are the core of who you are. Protect them, and you'll never lose yourself, no matter how much the world tries to take. 5 keynotes of the speech: self-respect is non-negotiable. No one should define your worth but you. Your voice carries power and should never be silenced. Values are the compass of life. Compromising them erodes integrity. Hope and kindness are strengths that must be fiercely protected. Your time and dreams are sacred. Once lost, they cannot be reclaimed. Self-respect is one of the most fundamental aspects of our existence, and yet it is the one thing people often give away too easily, sometimes without even realizing it. To understand self-respect, we must first recognize that it is not something others can give us, nor is it something that depends on external validation. Self-respect is an internal acknowledgement of our worth, our dignity, and our right to be treated with honor. It is the silent but unshakable agreement we make with ourselves that we will not compromise our identity, our values, or our principles simply to gain approval, acceptance, or convenience. And because of its deeply personal nature, no one should ever be allowed to take it from us. When we allow our self-respect to be compromised, we essentially hand over control of our identity to someone else. This usually happens gradually, often in subtle ways. It might begin with tolerating disrespectful behavior because we don't want to create conflict. It might look like agreeing to something we know is against our principles just to keep peace in a relationship. Or it could be working tirelessly in an environment where our efforts are ignored, but we stay silent because we fear rejection. In all these scenarios, the cost is not the other person's behavior. It is the erosion of our self-respect. Once this erosion begins, it rarely stops on its own. Instead, it builds into a cycle where we continue to lower our boundaries and others continue to push them further. Protecting self-respect requires courage because it often demands difficult choices. It means walking away from situations that demean us, even it means losing comfort or security. It means saying no when everything around us pressures us to say yes. It means refusing to allow people to define our worth based on their limited perspective of who we are. The challenge here is that society often rewards conformity and compliance, but true self-respect thrives in authenticity. To live with self-respect, we must accept that some people may not like us, some may misjudge us, and some may even distance themselves from us. And yet what we gain in return is far greater, the inner strength of knowing that we did not betray ourselves. Another critical dimension of self-respect is how it sets the standard for how others treat us. People learn from the boundaries we create. If we tolerate disrespect, people assume it is acceptable. If we constantly put ourselves last, people begin to expect it. On the other hand, when we demand respect by respecting ourselves first, others are far more likely to follow suit. Self-respect is not arrogance, nor is it pride. It is simply the refusal to let others minimize our humanity. A person who carries self-respect walks differently, speaks differently, and carries an aura of dignity that commands acknowledgement without demanding it. But self-respect is not just about how others treat us, it is also about how we treat ourselves. Too often, we are our own harshest critics, belittling ourselves in ways we would never accept from others. Every time we talk ourselves down, every time we neglect our needs, every time we convince ourselves that we are undeserving of happiness or success, we chip away at our own respect. To protect self-respect, we must also practice self-compassion. It is about recognizing our mistakes without reducing ourselves to them, about celebrating our progress instead of obsessing over our shortcomings, and about giving ourselves the same kindness we so readily give to others. There is also a deeper, long-term impact of maintaining or losing self-respect. People who preserve their self-respect, even in the face of challenges, often inspire trust, admiration, and loyalty from others. They become leaders not because they demand authority, but because they embody integrity. On the other hand, people who compromise their self-respect for approval often find themselves drained, dissatisfied, and resentful. They might gain temporary acceptance, but they lose the one relationship that matters most, the relationship with themselves. And when that relationship weakens, everything else begins to lose meaning. In moments of choice, when the easier option is to give in to pressure, remember that self-respect is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the anchor that keeps us grounded when the winds of criticism, rejection, or judgment try to sweep us away. Without it, we drift aimlessly, becoming dependent on others to remind us of who we are. With it, we stand firmly, able to weather storms, able to recover from failures, and able to keep moving forward with dignity intact. No one should ever be allowed to take your self-respect because it is the foundation upon which everything else rests. Your achievements, your relationships, your ambitions, none of them can hold true meaning if you have sacrificed your respect along the way. It is the one thing that makes you unshakable yourself. And while people can take your possessions, your opportunities, or even your time, they cannot take your self-respect unless you allow them to. It is yours to protect, yours to preserve, and yours to carry with unwavering pride. Your voice is more than the words you speak. It is the expression of your identity, your perspective, and your truth. It is the channel through which you share ideas, challenge assumptions, and influence the world around you. To lose your voice or to allow someone to take it from you is to silence the very essence of your individuality. Too often people underestimate the power of their voice. They believe their thoughts are too small to matter, that their ideas won't make a difference, or that speaking up will create unnecessary conflict. But every great movement, every meaningful change, and every powerful relationship has been built on voices that refuse to be silenced. When you let someone take your voice, you hand over your agency. This doesn't always happen in dramatic ways. Sometimes it is subtle. It might be in the workplace where you have an idea but stay quiet because you fear it won't be well received. It might be in a relationship where you don't express your needs because you don't want to be a burden. It might be in society where you see injustice but convince yourself that speaking out won't change anything. In each of these moments, your silence feels small, but collectively they create a habit of suppressing your voice. Over time, you begin to forget the weight your words carry, and you allow others to decide what gets heard and what doesn't. Your voice is not just about speaking. It is about standing firm in what you believe. It reflects your values, your experiences, and your perspective, which are unique to you alone. No one else has lived your life, seen through your eyes, or walked in your shoes. That means no one else can contribute your specific insight to the world. When you remain silent out of fear or doubt, the world loses something valuable. The ideas that could spark innovation, the words that could heal someone, the truths that could inspire courage, they remain locked inside you. Protecting your voice means understanding that even if not everyone listens, the act of speaking itself has worth. There will always be people who try to silence voices. Sometimes it's done intentionally by dismissing, interrupting, or belittling. Other times it's unintentional through neglect, ignorance, or a lack of awareness. But regardless of the reason, when someone attempts to take your voice, you must decide whether to give them that power. The truth is, your voice doesn't need permission. It doesn't require unanimous approval. It requires courage. Courage to say, this is what I think. Courage to say, this is what I believe. Courage to say, this is who I am. The act of using your voice is not about control over others. It's about refusing to be erased. It's important to remember that using your voice doesn't always mean being the loudest person in the room. Some of the most powerful voices in history were not loud, but they were consistent, clear, and unwavering. Your voice carries strength not in its volume, but in its authenticity. Whispered truths have shifted hearts. Simple words have built bridges. Honest conversations have healed wounds. The impact of your voice lies not in how forcefully you use it, but in how truthfully you honor it. Yet many people silence themselves because they fear judgment. They worry about being wrong, about being criticized, or about standing out. But judgment is inevitable. No matter what you do, if you speak, some will agree and some will disagree. If you remain silent, some will still make assumptions about you. So why not use your voice to speak your truth rather than let others define it for you? Protecting your voice means accepting that you cannot control how others respond to it. You can only control whether or not you use it. Your voice is also a tool of connection. Relationships thrive when voices are shared openly. When you withhold your thoughts, your concerns, or your appreciation, you weaken the bonds you could strengthen. Imagine how many conflicts could be avoided if people simply spoke honestly. Imagine how many dreams could be supported if people dared to articulate them. Imagine how much healing could occur if people used their voice to express forgiveness, gratitude, or love. To give up your voice is not only to lose your own power, but also to rob others of the connection and truth you could have offered. The beauty of your voice is that it evolves with you. As you grow, your perspective shifts, and your words carry different weight. What you share today may not be the same as what you share 10 years from now, but both matter. Both are necessary parts of the story you are writing with your life. When you remain silent, you halt that story, leaving empty chapters where your wisdom and experience could have lived. Speaking up ensures that your narrative continues, that your presence is felt, and that your contribution is remembered. No one should ever be allowed to take your voice because it is one of the most powerful tools you have. It is not just about speaking, it is about existing fully, unapologetically, and truthfully. It is about choosing expression over erasure, courage over fear, and authenticity over conformity. Your voice matters simply because it is yours. And when you protect it, nurture it, and use it, you ensure that no matter what happens around you, your truth will never be silenced. Your values are the foundation upon which your entire life is built. They are the invisible framework that shapes your decisions, your priorities, and the way you interact with the world. Values are not simply ideas you agree with. They are the principles you live by, the non-negotiable truths that define who you are at your core. To let someone take your values from you is to hand over the compass that directs your journey. Without them, you drift aimlessly, subject to the whims of others, unable to distinguish between what is right for you and what merely pleases those around you. Protecting your values is one of the most important responsibilities you have to yourself, because once they are compromised, every other aspect of your life begins to lose integrity. It is tempting to sacrifice values for the sake of convenience, approval, or success. Sometimes it feels easier to bend your principles just a little in order to fit in or to avoid conflict. At other times, people might pressure you into choosing comfort over conviction, reward over integrity, or silence over honesty. While these compromises may seem small in the moment, they accumulate over time, slowly eroding the very identity that makes you unique. Each time you betray your values, you plant seeds of regret, and regret eventually grows into resentment toward others for pressuring you, and resentment toward yourself for allowing it. Your values are what give meaning to your decisions. Without them, choices become random, influenced by trends, emotions, or external opinions. But when your actions align with your values, even difficult decisions become clear. For instance, if honesty is one of your values, you know that lying, even when it seems convenient, violates your integrity. If compassion is one of your values, you know that cruelty, even when justified by others, goes against who you are. Values act as a compass because they guide you toward actions that reflect your true self, even when those actions are unpopular or misunderstood. The strength of your values is tested most in moments of challenge. It is easy to stand by your principles when life is comfortable, when no one questions your choices, and when your beliefs align with the expectations of those around you. The true test comes when holding on to your values costs you something, an opportunity, a friendship, a promotion, or approval. That is when many people give in, convincing themselves that it's only temporary, that they can bend the rules now and still remain true to themselves later. But the problem with bending values is that once you do it, it becomes easier to do again. Each compromise lowers the threshold until one day you look back and realize you have become someone you no longer recognize. When you protect your values, you give yourself the gift of consistency. You live a life that feels coherent, one where your inner beliefs match your outer actions. This consistency builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. You begin to rely on yourself to know that when faced with pressure, you will not abandon what matters most. People around you sense this consistency as well. They may not always agree with your values, but they will respect the integrity with which you live them. In fact, some of the most respected figures in history are remembered not because they pleased everyone, but because they held on to their values even when the world tried to strip them away. Values also serve as boundaries. They protect you from being swayed by every voice, every opinion, every trend. In a world full of noise, values remind you of what truly matters. They help you filter out distractions and focus your energy on what aligns with your deeper purpose. Without them, you risk spending your life chasing things that look appealing in the moment, but leave you empty in the long run. Protecting your values is, in many ways, protecting your future self from regret. Another crucial element of values is how they shape your relationships. When you live by your values, you naturally attract people who respect and align with them. You also recognize more quickly when someone does not share them, which saves you from investing in connections that will ultimately pull you away from your true self. Compromising your values for the sake of relationships may keep temporary peace, but it always comes at the expense of long-term fulfillment. A relationship built on the abandonment of your principles is not truly yours. It belongs to the version of you that chose conformity over authenticity. Living according to your values does not mean you will always be comfortable. In fact, it often means facing discomfort, criticism, or even isolation. But discomfort in service of integrity is far more rewarding than comfort gained through compromise. Each time you honor your values, you strengthen your identity. You remind yourself that you are not for sale, that your principles are not negotiable, and that your worth is not determined by what you gain, but by what you refuse to lose. No one should ever be allowed to take your values from you because they are the core of your being. They are what separate you from merely existing to truly living. They are the truths that keep you grounded when the world tries to pull you in every direction. To protect them is to protect yourself, and to live by them day after day is to ensure that no matter what challenges come your way, you remain aligned with the person you are meant to be. Hope is one of the most powerful forces that keeps human beings moving forward, even in the face of adversity. It is the quiet belief that tomorrow can be better than today, that struggles are temporary, and that no matter how heavy the weight of the present feels, there is always the possibility of change. Hope is not wishful thinking or blind optimism. It is the inner strength that helps you endure pain, disappointment, and failure while still holding on to the possibility of a brighter future. To let someone take your hope away is to let them strip you of the energy that fuels resilience, perseverance, and growth. Without hope, people stop trying. Without hope, they give up before the story is complete. That is why hope should never be surrendered to anyone or anything. There are always moments in life when hope feels fragile. Failures, setbacks, and losses can make us question whether it's worth holding on. In those moments, the voices around us can either lift us up or tear us down. Some people, intentionally or unintentionally, will tell you to stop dreaming, to accept reality as it is, to lower your expectations so you won't be disappointed again. They may believe they are protecting you from pain, but what they are really doing is asking you to let go of hope. And once hope is gone, effort fades, motivation dries up, and the spark that gives life its meaning slowly dims. The truth is, people don't lose because they fail. They lose because they stop believing there is something worth working toward after failure. Hope is deeply personal. What you hope for may not look the same as what others hope for. For one person, hope may be about building a career they believe in. For another, it may be about finding love, raising a family, or creating something meaningful. Because hope is personal, no one else has the right to define it for you. Yet many times, people allow others to dictate what is realistic and what is not. They let society, peers, or even family decide which dreams are worth pursuing. Protecting your hope means refusing to let someone else's limited vision of what is possible determine the size of your own. One of the most important things to understand about hope is that it does not eliminate struggle. In fact, hope exists because struggle exists. If life were easy, we would not need hope at all. Hope matters precisely because the road is uncertain, because the outcome is unclear, because setbacks are inevitable. It is in the darkest moments that hope shines brightest, reminding you that difficulty is not the end, but a passage. Think about the times when people have achieved the seemingly impossible, surviving wars, rebuilding after disasters, overcoming personal tragedies. In every one of those stories, hope played a central role. It didn't erase the pain, but it gave people the courage to endure the pain until change arrived. There is also a collective power in hope. When one person holds on to hope, it inspires others to do the same. Hope spreads through families, communities, and even nations. It is why leaders who ignite hope in others are remembered long after they are gone. They remind people that even though challenges are real, defeat is not inevitable. When you protect your own hope, you not only preserve your future, but also contribute to the hope of those around you. Your perseverance becomes a silent testimony to what is possible, and it may be the very reason someone else chooses not to give up. Hope also fuels creativity and innovation. Every breakthrough, every discovery, every new idea began with someone daring to hope for something better. If everyone only accepted the world as it is, nothing would ever change. Hope gives people permission to imagine, to create, and to act on visions that seem far beyond the present moment. When others tell you to stop hoping, they are not only asking you to surrender your dreams, they are asking you to stop shaping the future. Protecting hope is in many ways protecting progress. There will always be people who mistake hope for naivety, who dismiss it as unrealistic or childish. But hope is not about denying reality. It is about refusing to let reality dictate the limits of possibility. It is about acknowledging challenges while still believing they can be overcome. Some of the greatest achievements in history were once considered impossible until someone dared to hope differently. Holding on to hope does not mean ignoring obstacles. It means facing them with the belief that they can be moved, climbed, or transformed. In your personal life, hope is the anchor that keeps you steady when everything else feels uncertain. It whispers that the pain you feel today is not permanent, that the setback you faced is not the end of the story, and that the effort you put in still matters. Without hope, effort feels meaningless. With hope, even the smallest step forward becomes significant. And when you choose to protect your hope, you reclaim your power. You take control of your future, refusing to let others dictate when it is time to quit. No one should ever take your hope because it is the spark that keeps you alive inside, the quiet force that allows you to keep dreaming, keep striving, and keep moving forward even when the odds are against you. Hope is not a weakness. It is the strength that sustains every journey worth taking. To let it go is to give up on yourself. To protect it is to ensure that no matter what happens, you will always have the courage to continue. Kindness is often misunderstood as something soft, fragile, or even weak, but in truth, it is one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. It is the quiet courage to treat others with humanity even when the world gives you every reason to respond with bitterness. It is the decision to stay true to your heart despite disappointment, betrayal, or hardship. Kindness does not mean allowing others to walk over you, nor does it mean ignoring injustice. It means choosing to act with empathy and compassion even when cruelty seems easier. To let someone take away your kindness is to allow the harshness of the world to reshape you into someone you are not. It is to abandon one of the most defining aspects of your character and to give up the ability to bring light into spaces that desperately need it. When people face repeated hurt or betrayal, their natural response is often to harden themselves. They tell themselves they must stop caring, stop giving, stop being kind because kindness seems to lead only to being taken advantage of. But when you give up kindness, you do not just protect yourself from others, you also shut off your ability to experience deeper connection, joy, and meaning. The problem is not kindness itself, it is the belief that kindness should always be reciprocated. The truth is, kindness is not a transaction. It is not something you do in order to get something back. It is an expression of your values, your humanity, and your strength. When you remain kind in a world that is not always kind to you, you demonstrate a resilience that nothing can take away. Kindness has the power to transform both the giver and the receiver. For the person receiving it, a single act of kindness can restore faith in humanity, lighten a burden, or spark the courage to keep going. For the person giving it, kindness strengthens character, creates a sense of purpose, and affirms that their actions are aligned with who they want to be. The effects of kindness often ripple outward in ways you cannot measure. A smile, a word of encouragement, a simple gesture of consideration. These may seem small, but they can change the course of someone else's day or even their life. To let go of kindness because others fail to appreciate it is to underestimate its quiet but immeasurable impact. There will always be people who interpret kindness as weakness. They will try to exploit it, to manipulate it, or to dismiss it. But their perception does not define its value. Strength is not in harshness, but in the ability to remain gentle in the face of difficulty. Anyone can respond with anger, with cruelty, with indifference. That takes little effort. But to respond with kindness requires discipline, self-control, and courage. It is a strength that refuses to let external negativity dictate internal character. Protecting your kindness means recognizing that it belongs to you, not to those who misuse it. It is not theirs to define, and it is not theirs to take away. Kindness also has a way of building bridges where walls exist. It opens doors that hostility cannot. In conflicts, kindness creates space for understanding. In relationships, it fosters trust. In leadership, it inspires loyalty. People are drawn to those who treat them with respect and dignity, not because of fear, but because kindness has the ability to disarm defensiveness and build genuine connections. When you hold on to kindness, even in tough circumstances, you maintain the ability to connect with people on a deeper level, and that is one of the greatest advantages you can have in any environment. It is important, however, to recognize that protecting your kindness does not mean sacrificing your boundaries. You can be kind and still say no. You can be kind and still walk away from toxic situations. You can be kind without allowing others to take advantage of you. True kindness is not about neglecting yourself. It is about giving to others without losing who you are. When people confuse kindness with weakness, it is often because they mistake selflessness for self-erasure. Protecting your kindness means practicing it in a way that honors both you and others. There is also a deep relationship between kindness and resilience. People who hold on to kindness despite adversity are often the strongest because they refuse to let external darkness dictate their inner light. Even when they are hurt, they continue to give. Even when they are let down, they continue to hope. And even when they are surrounded by negativity, they choose to respond differently. That ability to keep choosing kindness regardless of circumstances shows a strength that is unshakable. To let others take that away from you is to let them decide not just how you act, but who you are. When you look back at your life, it won't be the moments of hardness or revenge that you will be most proud of. It will be the moments when you chose kindness despite how easy it would have been to do otherwise. It will be the times when you stayed true to yourself, even when the world tried to change you. Protecting your kindness is about protecting your legacy, because people may forget your achievements or possessions, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And when you refuse to let anyone take that part of you away, you carry forward not just strength for yourself, but hope and light for others. At the heart of everything we've explored lies a simple but powerful truth. There are certain things in life that must remain untouchable. Your self-respect, your voice, your values, your hope, your kindness, your time, and your dreams. These are not luxuries, they are essentials. They are the core of who you are, the forces that give your life meaning, direction, and strength. When you protect them, you safeguard your identity. When you honor them, you live authentically. And when you refuse to let anyone take them from you, you ensure that no matter how unpredictable or challenging the world becomes, you remain whole. People may try to test your boundaries, question your worth, or pressure you into compromise, but the choice always rests with you. Each of these 7 things is not given to you by others. It is yours by nature, yours by right, and yours to defend. When you hold them close, you live not at the mercy of external forces, but anchored in inner conviction. So as you move forward, remember this: what you protect shapes who you become. If you guard these 7 things fiercely, you will not only preserve your strength, you will also inspire others to do the same. Because in a world where so much can be taken away, the greatest power you have is to never surrender the parts of yourself that make you unshakably you.